Hello, in today's video I'm going to show you how if condition works. As you can see here, I've already prepared the scene where I have a game object with the name changed to tutorial, and I have attached the empty script tutorial 4 to that game object. So if I will double click, you can see here that is just created new script called tutorial 4. Okay, so what we'll need for today's episode is to create two variables. As you can remember from previous episodes, let's create public int x and let's create public int y. Okay, and let's delete update function, we will not need it today, and let's create new method. I've showed you how to create method in the last episode, so let's create public void, and let's call our method, compare. Okay, and inside that compare, I will show you how the if condition works. But first, let's not forget to call our function, our method. Let's write it here under the start. So when we press play, our method will be executed. First, let's create our first condition. So if our x will be bigger than y, I will explain it in a second. So let's write debug.log. Let's write x is bigger than y. Okay, so what is happening here? Here is our if condition. So our name for our condition is if. Then if this condition is true, then the function between those parentheses is executed. So for now, we just write debug log x is bigger than y. Okay, so let's go to Unity and let's test how it works. For your understanding, if I write now 1 for the x value and 0 for the y value, if I press play, in the debug log is shown x is bigger than y. So the function between the parentheses was executed. Okay, so for example, just to show you that it will not work if I will not have it, if the x is equal to y, we have no debug log information. Okay, so this is how the basic if condition works. But for if, we usually use condition else. And let's write else if. Okay, I can write it in the next line. Else if, so that means if this condition is not fulfilled, so it's not true, then go to this condition. So now we'll check if x is smaller than y. Okay, so if this condition is true, we want to say, we can copy this line, we want to say that x is smaller than y. So now we can check it if it works. So as I said, let's write y is 1 and x is 0. So if I press play now, we will see x is smaller than y. So our condition was fulfilled. But if I would write else without this if condition, so I will show it to you now. Let's press save. So that means that if the first value condition is not fulfilled, so in our case x is not bigger than y. So here we automatically go to execute this function. So even if they will be equal, so if this is not true, we'll execute this condition that way, which will be not correct. Yes, sorry, let's write 0 here, which will be not correct because x is the same value than y. Yeah, so the function works correctly, but the idea was different. So if I will again put back our condition, so this will be executed only when x is higher than y and or when x is lower than y. But I could write also else if x is equal to y, and that way, let's put it into a new line, we could write debug log x and y are equal. Okay, so if I press Ctrl Save and I will go here, I will press play, so we can see here that x and y are equal. So the line which was executed is this line. So first our condition was checked here, it was not true, then our function checked this condition, this was also not true, and then it checked this condition and it was true. So that's the last one, and this was executed because it was true. Of course, now if I would leave something like that, this condition would also work, because we have three possibilities for this function. So x will be bigger than y, x will be smaller than y, or x can be equal to y. So the last possibility that left is that x will be equal to y. So there is no more combinations in that in that issue. So that means that anyway this will work correctly. So you can create function like that. So you can, for example, create if, else if, and just if else. So for example, if you have two conditions and you don't know what might happen as the third one, you can, for example, write else and write some function that you expect that something will happen. Okay, so we can test it if you want. If I press play, anyway, even if I don't have condition when those two are equal, this is called the third condition, which is x and y are equal. If something is unclear, please write that in comment, I will answer. Okay, so we can, for comparing the values in the all conditions, not only the if, and also you can use this in loops like while. So the symbols used for comparing is something is higher than other values. So for example, x is higher than y, as we have here. You can use that something is smaller, that something is higher or equal than some value, that something is smaller than or equal, and that something is equal to some value. Okay, so those are all the symbols that you can use for writing your code for the conditions. Okay, so I will show you one more thing. We could use, for example, Boolean values for the conditions. Let's write public truth, public bool. Let's write truth or not, and let's write just, we can, for example, have few ifs, so let's write it that way, if, and let's write truth or not. So if I will leave it like that, it will mean, sorry, I didn't show you one more. Here we can write something is different than. Okay, so I'll show you how it works. If true or not, so if I would write true, so this condition would be fulfilled, but the short name of writing something like that is just leaving like that. So that means if this value is true, if the Boolean is true, the condition is fulfilled, and I could write something like that. So this means this condition is not true, but to make the sentence shorter, I could write true or not, okay? Or I could write also that is different than true, so it means that is equal to false, okay? So it will mean it's equal to false, okay? Okay, so let's assume we want to check if a condition is true, so let's copy the debug log and let's write sentence is true, okay. Okay, so now we have one if condition and the second if condition that will be realized. So it's like a new if condition inside that method. So now we should, if this one is true, and let's write 1 here. So if this is true and x is larger than y, so those two will be realized. So now we should see two comments. Yeah, sentence is true because we mark truth. So sentence is true is that if condition, yeah, because we have true on the Boolean value. And here when we have if, we are in this condition, so 1 is higher than 0, so this debug log was executed, okay? And we can like mix conditions and use okay, I write what I mean. If for example we have our truth or not is true and we have x larger than y, we can write something like let's copy this and x is, let's copy this one, and x is bigger than y, okay? So this condition will be only called when x is higher than y and our sentence is true. So we see that line only when those two conditions is fulfilled. Alternative for that one is or, which you write like that, okay? And this one means and. So if you have and in your logic, that means that both conditions need to be fulfilled. You can write more conditions, so and after that should be another condition, so all the three conditions that way should be fulfilled, but we have only two conditions. If you would have or here, so it would mean that only this condition on this should be true to execute the function. But since we want to check and, so if those two are true, so we want to check when this condition will be shown. So for now, as you can see here, I have x bigger than y, so 1 is bigger than 0, and we have truth marked. So our sentence, this one, should be shown. Okay, so let's test if it works correctly. Yeah, sentence is true, x is bigger than y, so it works correctly. And just for the test, I will unmark true or not. So as you can see here, I will only get x is bigger than y because truth was not marked. So if I will, for example, do 0 here and just put truth or not, still I will get x and y are equal and sentence is true. So that means that we are not calling this condition because x is equal to y, but for our condition x needs to be bigger than y. Okay, so that's how the if condition works. And if you like today's video, please don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to press the like button. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask them in the comments. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. Bye.